How do I deal with divorced parents? Stats show in South Africa, 1 in 5 marriages end in divorce.
Does that mean one of my 5 wives is going to leave me?
3, 2, 1.
Here we go! So today on the Good Question Show, we want to tackle the topic on how do you deal with divorced parents. So whether you're a scholar, a student, a young working adult, for a lot of us, this is a very harsh reality. We have to deal with parents that end up getting divorced.
Yeah, and actually stats show that worldwide, 50% of marriages end in divorce.
50%, that's crazy. So if I know 2 married couples, the odds are that one of them will end up getting divorced.
Yeah. Is it you?
That's crazy, but what about South Africa?
So South Africa is a lot better, but it's not great either. So 1 in 5 marriages in South Africa will end in divorce.
That is crazy. So if I know 5 married couples, which I do, then the odds are one of them are likely to get divorced.
This is
a
harsh reality.
Pretty scary. So again, wherever you find yourself, if you're still in school or a student or a young working adult, this will probably be a very harsh reality that will face a lot of us. Even me, my parents are divorced, so a lot of what I say today will actually come from experience, or you'll probably end up knowing someone that goes through that. So help us, Tumi, get started. How do we deal with divorced parents?
So the first thing you want to do is, how do I actually deal with the pain? How do I deal with the pain of
That's cool. Dealing with the pain of parents getting divorced.
Yeah, because now this is no longer the ideal reality which I pictured, and we all have the picture of the ideal.
We do have a picture of the ideal
setup, right?
family. No. It has to be American for some reason,
Yeah.
I guess, because whenever we talk about the ideal family, we always talk about the white picket fence,
Yeah.
which is not a good idea in South Africa. It's very unsafe.
And the golden retriever, you need one of those at least.
But it's 2. Like you
two
need two golden labbies running around the white picket fence yard. You need to have, I think the average is like 2.5 kids.
Yes, because school fees is really expensive.
But according to certain standards put out there, that's the ideal, the American nuclear picture of a family.
Yeah.
And I guess somewhere you're going to have to deal with the fact that might not be your picture where you come from.
Yeah, and dealing with this reality, you also need to take in the fact that it's actually not your fault. Like,
that's so good.
That many things happen and people make decisions, and sometimes you're just a casualty of.
So even if someone says, this is your fault.
Yeah, like if your dad looked you right in the eyes and said, Stephen, this is your fault. This is because of you.
We're getting divorced because of you. Don't believe him, Stephen.
Don't believe him, Stephen.
That's not the truth.
It's not the truth. It's not your fault, buddy.
Is it so valuable what you said about sometimes people will make bad decisions and you'll be an unfortunate casualty to some of those decisions. Yeah. So realizing you're going to have to deal with the pain. And I guess dealing with the pain can be a lot of different things. So making sure you're processing that emotionally. Maybe that's, talking to someone professionally, whether it's reaching out to, church family, brothers and sisters to come around you, support you in that. So I think dealing with the pain can mean a lot of different things, but it is important.
It is important. It is a process that you have to go through yourself.
Yeah. So if your picture of the family life that you come from is no longer the ideal, deal with that. And maybe just a last pointer on that. It's good to realize that no one's life, friends, is ever ideal. Everyone has a kind of unideal element to their life, whether it can be anything, but realizing that you're going to have to deal with that somewhere along the line will go a long way. Which actually leads me to our second point when it comes to dealing with divorced parents. And again, my own parents are divorced, but they're very nice to one another. It's not like a bad situation anymore.
They're not like throwing mud at each other.
No, not
Something
at all.
I've heard they do.
But I guess talking from experience, the number one pointer that I can give when it comes to dealing with divorced parents is never choose sides.
Oof,
friends,
that's a good one.
Never pick a side, because you'll be tempted to, whether your parents intentionally shove you towards picking a side. And what I mean by that is, obviously, when people end up getting divorced, both parties in that situation will feel like a victim, obviously, because it's a massive blow emotionally, financially. So both will end up feeling like they've been wronged, throughout this whole process. Both will feel like a victim. Both will want sympathy and empathy, and both will want support. And sometimes, if it's a bad divorce, parents might, kind of try and force you to pick a side. So you be on my side because your dad is this and this and this.
But there's a clear victim and a clear...
So, or you be on my side because your mom was this and this and this, So it might be intentional pushing to pick a side, but it might also be very unintentional, like just the way they speak about each other, the way that they use vocabulary might want to kind of subconsciously nudge you into picking a side. And the best thing you can do as someone dealing with divorced parents is to make sure that you don't pick a side.
All right, but
stay neutral.
All right,
be Switzerland.
Yeah, but maybe not right now.
Not right now. Be Switzerland in the Second World War.
Yeah, old school Switzerland. But here's a scenario. I'm sitting in the kitchen with my mom, and she's now venting about my dad, and she's painting this picture. How do I then engage with it and try not to make that?
That's a good question.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Again, I think this is also applicable whether you're still in school or whether you're a student or a young working adult. But it's always possible to very respectfully and lovingly, ask your parents not to talk smack about each other in front of you. Speaking from experience, that's also something I actually put in place. Like I asked my parents, I went, listen, I love both of you. I want to honor both of you. So I'm going to request that you never talk bad about each other in front of me. Because what you're doing when you do that, whether it's intentional or unintentional, is you're making your pain my pain. And it's a very unwise thing to force my pain upon someone else, because then you start picking up secondhand pain and secondhand offense and bitterness. So always be loving, always be respectful, but make sure your parents understand, please don't talk bad about each other in front of me. I'm also dealing with things, right? Like I'm also dealing with this divorce. So you venting about mom or you venting about dad right in front of me on a daily basis might not be the best outlet for that emotion. I want you to process your emotion, but also do that in a healthy way, that it doesn't, so that pain and bitterness doesn't kind of spill, over on top of me, which will make me bitter as well. I think that's kind of the thing. So
you mentioned that your parents got divorced.
True.
And you said, I'm assuming I was 18.
I was like 18 or 19 when my parents got divorced. But I think another really helpful tool that I would love to encourage people with is to make sure, again, that you don't pick sides, but that you have a lot of grace for your parents, man, and that you extend forgiveness. I mean, let's just normalize parents for a second. Okay, let's pretend they're normal. Let's pretend they're human. Once you realize that your parents are also just humans with their own insecurities, their own baggage, their own pain and issues that they have to deal with, it helps you realize that somewhere along the line of them parenting you, they'll make a mistake. What?
Could you imagine? Like, mom didn't pack my sandwiches. No way.
Can we just normalize? Let's just take parents off that pedestal that we sometimes place them on. Parents are people. Why did we see protests like that? Parents are people.
Parents, I think if you need to start burning lawnmowers or like a dishwasher, just
stand up for your rights,
I'm there
parents.
With you. Fight for yourselves,
You're people. But I think just talking about grace and forgiveness, I think the moment I also realized, man, my parents are people. They also have issues. It really made it easier to just extend some grace and forgiveness as well. Like, here's an example. We'll never scold a blind person for bumping into things, right? Like, damn it, Stephen, look where you're going.
Like, he can't even help it, man.
Blind people will inevitably walk into things from time to time. And I'm not saying parents are blind, but I am saying parents are people just like you and me. So it helps to kind of just normalize them, so realize that they will make mistakes in their parenting life. And that just makes it possible to extend some grace and forgiveness. And that's what Jesus is all about as well. That's what the gospel does. As I receive God's forgiveness for myself, I'm able to extend that to other people. So I think that's kind of
That's pretty cool. I like it. And I think I wanted to mention another thing. Being in a church family and seeing other church marriages? How was it a tool that maybe helped
That
you?
is so helpful. I think dealing with divorced parents, make sure that you have lots of pictures around you on good marriages that are thriving, healthy, built on Jesus himself, the rock. So I think that's something that helped me a lot as well. When my parents ended up getting a divorce, it wasn't as traumatizing as I necessarily thought it would be, but it was mostly because I had lots of references on really healthy marriages, and that made me realize this is not how it always ends. It's not always ending in divorce and pain or bitterness or mud throwing or any of that. It's very possible for Jesus to help us create and cultivate very healthy marriages. So make sure you have friends and family around you that have good marriages.
Yeah, I think it is helpful. I think I want to ask you another question. Seeing that you've come out of a household of divorce and you've married now yourself.
I'm fine.
She's okay, guys.
No, I'm totally fine.
But you're married now yourself.
I am married.
And you're having a baby soon.
It's just fat to me.
My bad.
It's my holiday weight,
Is
man.
it?
That's true. Pregnant, having a baby. But
But looking forward in your own life, how does getting married, getting a baby, starting a family of your own, and coming out of divorce, how does that impact? Or how does...
I think that the biggest, another just last thing in dealing with divorced parents is always keeping in mind, you're not your parents. Like, we sometimes grow up with this thing of, I'll never be like my parents. I'll never be my mom. I'll never be my dad. And if you're anything like me, inevitably you end up being very much like them, But I think looking forward again, because of Jesus, because of what he's done, we can definitely have hope for my current marriage, and you can definitely have hope for your future marriage. And it's not based on us trying real hard not to be our parents, but it's based on the fact that because of Jesus, we can trust him. We're going to build our marriage on him. I'm not going to make the same mistakes. I won't make the same decisions, but it's not because I'll try real hard. It's because of what Jesus has done. So we can always have hope just going forward, because I guess the gospel brings redemption, right?
Yeah. I like that. I really like that. So just to wrap it all up, we want to say, first, when dealing with divorced parents, have grace for yourself.
True that.
Deal with your pain. Get a nice group of people, a healthy community around you. And then have grace for them. They're people too.
That's good.
And looking forward, there's redemption for you too. You can have that fruitful marriage you want as well.
That's good.
That's really good.
Awesome.
Nice stuff.
Cheers.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go.
Best excuses you've ever heard.
My horoscope told me not to.
I just don't want to. We're not friends. I don't have to explain myself to you.
I don't like leaving my comfort zone.
I'm not good with excuses.
I would tell you, but my fortune teller advised me against elaborating.
God told me. I don't have to.
I just don't like going out on days ending in Y. It's just a personal preference.
My cousin's brother's sister's stepbrother's cat died. I can't go into it. It's a tragic story. I gotta go now.
To become your brother's sister's cousin.